What's going on, guys? John Elder here from codemy.com, and in this video, we're going to download and install the template for our dental website with Python and Django. All right, in this video, guys, we're going to download and start to install the template for our cool dental website, help us start to make some money with our coding skills by selling these websites to dentists. But before we get started, if you like this video, want to see more like it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, which is super helpful. And check out codemy.com, where I have dozens of courses with hundreds of videos that teach you to code. Use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. That's all my courses, videos, and books for a one-time fee, which is insanely cheap. Okay, so in the last video, we went through here and we built out all the infrastructure code for our Django project. And we have this basic Hello World website, or web page, I should say, and we're ready to go. We've got everything set up. Now we just need the template file. So in this video, that's what we're going to do. We're going to download and start to install. It's going to take us a little while to install all these files, but I'll start to show you how to do it in this video. So first things first, we need to find our dental template. And how did I do this? I just went over to Google and searched for free dental website templates, I think. Yeah, and so add. The very first actual listing is this colorlib.com, 30 best free dental websites. And I just kind of looked through here and I looked at this one and I thought this one looked good. So I clicked on it and here it is. And we can preview it if we want. We can get rid of the frame, and this is the template we've been looking at, right? So that's right. We can close that. So now we just need to download this thing. So every website's going to be a little different. Find the download link, especially for free ones. They'll obviously be free, and go ahead and click it. And this thing pops up, and in a couple of seconds, a little box should appear. Oh, there it is. Now we want to save this to our computer. Doesn't matter where you save it. I'm just going to save it to my desktop. And I've actually already downloaded it before, but I'll replace it. Now I'm on Firefox, so my downloads appear up here in this little arrow that's kind of jumping around a little bit. If you're on Chrome, it's going to be down here in the lower left-hand corner. Safari, I'm not really sure. Wherever your downloads go, just go ahead and click it. And then you'll notice this is a zip file. Template files are always going to be zipped because there's like dozens, probably even hundreds of files in the template. So they're all zipped into one file. It's called a zip file. So we need to unzip it. So let's just click this thing. And when we do, this Windows Explorer window pops up. And we see this extract all button up here. Now this is going to be different if you're on a Mac. You can figure it out. You know how to unzip things on a Mac. Or if you can't, just Google it and you'll figure it out. But for Windows, we want to click this extract all button. And when we do, this little window pops up and it says, where do you want to extract this? I'll just keep it on my desktop and it'll go in this Dento directory. So, okay. We also want to make sure this is checked so that this opens after we unzip it. So, okay, we can go ahead and click extract. And when we do, this little thing pops up. And I've already got it installed there. So it's asking me, are you sure you want to replace these files? You won't get this if you do it. I'll just click replace. Okay, and then it's done. And we can kind of pull this down. And we can now close this file. Oops, come back. We just need this extracted file. And okay, so now we can click here and see all of the files that come in this template, right? So this is pretty cool. So if you're familiar with building websites at all, you know that all websites have four basic things, all of them. They have HTML files, that's hypertext markup language. That's the sort of the coding language, not really a language, but we call it a language used to create web pages. There are CSS files, stands for cascading style sheets. That CSS is what makes HTML look good. It adds style, cascading style sheets, right? And then they're usually JavaScript files. JavaScript usually handles things like drop-down menus in nav bars, and any sort of animation like that is usually done with JavaScript. And then the fourth thing is images. All websites have images, so you're going to have images. So HTML files, CSS files, JavaScript files, and images, all websites. So we look at our template here and we can see, okay, right from here all the way down, here's a bunch of HTML files. Right here is JavaScript files, JS. Right here is image files, IMG. And right here is CSS files, right? So that's our four things. Now there are some other things, and sometimes these are useful, sometimes they're not. This SRC, I don't know what it is. It's just an empty folder, right? Not very useful. This Sass, this is used for all kinds of other things that we don't really care about. Ruby on Rails uses some Sass, and things like that. Here we have fonts. This website has apparently some fonts. Okay, your template may or may not have fonts if you don't get this specific template. So spend a minute and just kind of look through whatever template you downloaded, and you're going to see something similar. There's going to be a folder full of CSS files. There's going to be a JavaScript folder. Now they may name it JavaScript instead of JS, right? This is obviously images. Your template may name it images or image instead of IMG, but you can figure out what it is just by looking at it. And here we can look in here and up there's some images, right? So what we now need to do is get all of this stuff into our Django app, but it needs to go in a very specific place in our app. And before we can do that, we need to make a quick change to our app. So let's pull our code back up. And the change we need to make is we need to add static stuff to our app. Now in Django, static files are those 4 things that we just mentioned. Well, 3 of the 4 things: CSS files, JavaScript files, and image files. Django calls those static files because they're static. They always stay the same. Your CSS isn't going to update all the time. A web page may update. You may add things to it and remove things to it, but your CSS file is always going to be the same. It's static. Your images, they're not going to change. They're your images, right? From one day to the next, an image file isn't going to change itself. You may add more images in the future, but the ones you have aren't going to change. They're static. The JavaScript files, they're not going to change. They're static. So Django groups all these static files together and treats them separately. So we need to set that up. And the first thing we need to do is go up to our dentist directory here, our original directory, and click on our settings.py file. And this is our settings file. Remember we made this quick change earlier where we added our website app. Well, we're going to make another quick change now. So scroll all the way down and you can see, oh, there's a static URL. So this is where we need to be. We need to make a quick change. And what we need to do is add static files _ dirs, because we're going to create a directory that holds all of our static files. And we just need to define that in our settings file. Super easy. So we set it equal to, and this is a Python list. So we got these square brackets. Now tab over, do not hit the space bar like that. You want to actually hit the tab key. Python is tab sensitive. We always want to actually tab. And then just type in os.path.join, and then parentheses, and then base _ dir, and then a comma, and then static. And we always want to put a comma at the end of items in a list, so we do that. And that's pretty much it. So what we're doing here is we're telling our program where our static folder will be. And since our Django app doesn't know if you're on Windows or Mac or Linux or Raspberry Pi or something else, it doesn't know what your file structure is. You know, Windows have C drives, Macs don't have C drives. So in order to keep track of all these different things, we use something called this OS, operating system module. And you'll notice we imported that up here at the beginning by default. Django just did it for us, specifically for this reason. And so we're saying take the path of our static directory and join it to the base directory. Well, what's the base directory? Well, if we scroll back up to the top, we see this base dir is already been defined when we set up our original Django project. It did it for us automatically. So that, in a nutshell, is what's going on. It's telling your program where your directory is, operating system independently, I guess. We don't really care, but if you're curious, that's what's going on there. So we can save this file and close it. We're done there. Now, just like with our templates file or our templates directory, we need to create a directory for our static files. Now, this can confuse some people. This needs to go in our top level. You know, it needs to sit next to this dentist website or this dentist folder and this website folder. So you don't want to put it inside of either of these. So I like to close these out, make sure they've been, minimized here. And then you go up to the very top, this very top dentist one, and right click, and we want a new folder right there, and we just call it static. Right? And boom, it pops right up. So you can see it's right here on the top level. It's exactly where we want it. Now inside of here, I'm going to create another directory, another folder, and I'm going to call it website. Now, we probably don't need to do that for this project. The reason why we're doing it is because every time you create an app in your Django project, it's probably going to have static files. So we want to keep track of which static files are which by designating them by directory. So we only have one app in our Django project. Remember, it's this website app. So I'm going to put this website directory inside of here. And now all the static files that go in our website app will go in this website directory. If we had another app called message board, I would come up here and create a new folder, and I would call it message board. You can see now it pops up, and I would put all the static files for our message board app in that folder. Now we don't have that, of course, so I can just go ahead and delete that. But that's why we do this, to keep these separate. So like I said, we only have one app in our project, so we don't necessarily have to put this website directory in here, but it's best practices, so I'm going to go ahead and do it. All right, so now we've got everything set up in our Django project. Now we just need to copy all those files over into our static directory. So how do we do that? Well, I'm on a Windows computer, so I'm just going to open up a file explorer. I'm going to go to my Windows Start menu, and I'm going to type in File, and you can type in Explorer, but when I start to type in File, it pops up a little icon of a folder, and when I click it, boom, this pops up. So now I'm just going to navigate to our dentist directory here. So I'm going to go down to my local C disk, and we called this dentist site and dentist, and then here we find our static folder. We want that, and then we want inside this website folder, and here we go. So now we can just copy all of these template files that we just downloaded and unzipped into this directory. And what you want to do is grab these folders, just the folders, not any of these files down here, just the folders. And the way I did that is I clicked on the first one, hit my shift key on my keyboard and held it down, and then I just arrowed down to highlight them all. Or you can just use your mouse button, hold the left mouse button and drag and drop like this. However you want to do it, just highlight them all. And once they're highlighted, I'm just going to grab them and pull them on over here, and boom, there they are. You can see it's copying them, and we're good to go. So that's all there is to it. Now we need to move the index.html file, which here it is. In any website, the index.html file or the index.php file or the index.whatever file is always the homepage of your app, right? In our Django app, we called our homepage home.html, but in the real world, it's always called index.html. So find the index.html file, and we need to put this in our, let's go back, in our website directory, in our templates file. You see there's that home.html file, but we also want to put this index file. So we'll just drag that over there. Okay, now one last thing. Let's go back to our static folder. Here we have this CSS folder, and if we look in it, we see this style.css sheet. Usually the main style sheet of a website is named style.css, right? So this should be the main one. But if we open it, it's not, it doesn't look like a main one, right? It starts out with font face. That's not usually how CSS files start. So if we kind of explore a little bit more, we see down here, there's another style.css. And if we click on this, okay, now there's a comment at the top. That's usually how main style sheets look, right? So for some reason, the main style sheet of this template is out here, and it's not inside the CSS folder. So we need to move that. So I'm going to come up here to this one that was already there. I'm going to rename it. Right? Now you won't always have to do this with templates, but for this particular one, just me eyeballing it, I see this is going on, and I go, okay, I need to change that. Chances are, if you download some other template, they won't have it set up this way. This, for some reason, these people just did it this way. So now we can grab this style sheet down here and pull it over. And we'll look into this a little bit more in a minute, because there's some changes we're going to have to make in here when the time comes. But for now, we can come back to our Sublime Text, and we can just sort of spot check this to make sure all of these files have been added correctly. And when we do, boom, we see them all here. Now, we probably don't need this src folder because it's empty, so I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. Or you could leave it in, it makes absolutely no difference. And we're not going to need this SCSS folder, so you might want to delete that, or this .sas cache folder. So You can delete them or keep them. It really doesn't matter. I'm just going to leave them there because we don't care. But I'm just going to spot check this. I see, okay, here's those 2 CSS files. That looks good. And if we look at images, here's all those image files. We can click on one. Oh, that is ugly, right? Oh, that's fun. So, okay, it looks like we've got all of our files and they've been installed. So now we want to come back to our website directory and our templates folder. And we see this is our original hello or our original home.html file. And you remember we just put this little hello world thing. And if we come back to the actual website here, we see here it is, hello world. Well, we don't really need that, right? That was just to show you how to set up a web page with Django. So let's get rid of that and let's replace it with this new index file that we just downloaded and installed. So I'm going to come up here to our home thing, our home.html file. I'm going to right click and just delete it. Now I'm going to come to the index one and I'm going to right click and let's rename this home.html. Why? Well, because we've already set up home.html. Remember, we created a view for it right here and we created a URL for it right here. So it's all ready to go. We might as well just rename it as home and use it, because we could keep it as index, but then we would have to come through here and change this to views.index, and we'd have to change this to index, and then we would have to come to the views and we would have to change this to index, and then we would have to change this to index. And that's just a lot of work. I'm going to change all these back. Home. Instead, it's just easier to rename the index.html file into home.html file, and you're good to go. So now let's look at the website and see what it looks like now. It's not going to look good, but let's reload and see. And oh man, we get just some weird HTML, unstylized. And it looks like some broken images here. What is going on? Well, we have installed all the files. We've downloaded them and put them in our Django app, but we have one more step we have to do, and that is to tweak our index page. And if we pull it up, we need to add a static tag to the top of this. So the static tag is just load static, right? So we can save this. But now if we come back and hit reload, we're still getting the same thing, right? What's going on here? Well, we also have to create static tags for every one of those 4 things we mentioned earlier. Well, not the HTML, because this is HTML. 3 of those 4 things that we talked about earlier: CSS files, JavaScript files, and images. So what is a static tag, a Django static tag? Well, it's just like the load static tag, right? It has an opening tag and a closing tag. And inside of here, we just go static, and then single quotation marks, and then we just reference where our static directory is, and then put the thing behind it, right? So if this is, an image and it's dentist.png, we would do it like that. So what we have to do here is take this tag and add it to every single one of those things in our app. And look at this file. It is pretty big, right? So there's going to be a lot of editing we need to do right now. So let's just do one real quick, right? So I'm just eyeballing this, and I'm coming down and I see, an ICO file. ICO stands for icon. It's an image file, and it goes at the top of the web browser up here in the tab. You see this right here, this purple thing right here, and this little WordPress thing right here? Those are ICO files. Those are icons. And it's just what it is, a browser tab icon. So let's just do this one real quick. So what I always do is I always paste our tag. I've copied it, and I paste it here because we're going to have to recopy this every time. So what I do is I come down here to the href, and I see this quotation mark, and inside of here, I get rid of those, and I paste in our static tag. And then I'm going to copy whatever this is. Control-C to copy, or you can right-click and click copy. Then I'll delete it, and then I'll come inside of our static tag and Control-V to paste, or you can right-click and click paste. And then boom, here we have it. So here's what this tag looks like. It's open tag, close tag, static, and then just reference where this thing is. It's in our static directory, in our website directory, in IMG, core IMG, favicon.ico. And And we can check that out. We can make sure that makes sense. We can come up to our static directory. We can click on website, and then we can click on IMG, and then we can click on core IMG, and then we can find favicon.ico. There it is right there. And we can open it, and it's that little tooth. So that makes sense. This looks correct, right? So now I'm going to copy this and delete it, and I'll have it ready for the next one, which is right here. So now we can save this file, head back over to our website and hit reload, and boom, right up here, now the little tooth icon appeared. And that's all there is to it. I say that's all there is to it because there's still a whole lot to do. We have to now go through every time we see a CSS reference or a image reference, there's a JPEG file, or a JavaScript reference. Those are usually at the bottom. Here's a bunch of JavaScript references. We need to come through here and add this tag for each one of these. So there's a lot of stuff on this one. It's going to take me 10 or 15 minutes to go through and do all this stuff. So I'm not going to do it on camera. I'll let you do it. In the next video, I'll show you what it looks like after I've done all those things. And then we need to do a little bit more tweaking to some files that come with this template in order to get this to work correctly. And we'll look at that in the next video. So that's all for this video. If you liked it, be sure to smash the like button below, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm, which really, really helps. And check out codemy.com where you can use coupon code YouTube1 to get $30 off membership. Pay just $49 to access all my courses, hundreds of videos, and the PDFs of all my best-selling coding books. Join over 70,000 students learning to code just like you. My name is John Elder from codemy.com, and we'll see you in the next video.